For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a video review on a brand new tent from Outwell. So with me here today, I've got the Outwell Nashville 5A Air TC. So the Nashville essentially sits in kind of Outwell's kind of classic collection. So it's a classic, basically kind of polycotton fabric. So it's all designed to be something that's breathable, obviously very long, sort of hard wearing, but also durable, and it's just all around in a really nice polycotton range. We've got it in this kind of like two-tone kind of brown fabric. I think actually generally looks really quite smart. Certainly when you've got a good amount of lighting to it, I think it does look a bit nicer. Essentially, it's kind of a air sort of hybrid in a way. So what we actually have is 1, 2, 3 air tubes, basically that kind of inflate. But more importantly, what you can do is you've got 3 almost deflation points, but it can be pitched from a single inflation point if you wish. So there's internal bracing tubes that sort of allow to distribute the air. Now, what I would personally do is probably, if you get a manual stirrup pump supply with it, you can use that. It's slightly smaller. It's the smallest in the kind of collection of the classic models. So it's probably, you could do this with a hand pump. If you want to, you can obviously buy an electric pump, attach it on, press a button, it inflates it to you. 7 psi is the recommendation, but because you've got 3 deflation points, that makes life a lot easier when you want to take it down as well. For those who aren't familiar with Polycotton is kind of a breathable fabric, and there are pros and cons for it really. The cons, so we'll start with the pros. The pros, for example, it's a breathable material, so on a warm day it will be a lot cooler in there, but also on a cold day it keeps the warmth in. Basically, the weave of the fabric can basically span and contract, allow air to pass through. It's a very waterproof material. Essentially, you have to do what they call like a weathering process the first time you get it. So you basically pitch it, get a hose pipe out, give it an absolute drenching. Basically, cotton then plumps up and swells and seals itself. And you only do that the first time. If you get it drenched the first time, then you're good to go. It's more of a natural fabric, so it's nicer feel. Haven't got a sort of synthetic kind of flapping noise. And obviously, from a longevity point of view, it would last you longer than a typical polyester fabric as well. Cons, it is slightly heavier and it's more expensive, so it's a little bit bulkier as well. And because it's got a cotton element to it, is a bit more. Takes a little bit longer to dry. Now, for me, it's definitely my preferred fabric, but you have to be aware of that you have something that's a bit bigger and a bit bulkier, and obviously weightier. And as long as you pack it away dry, then you should be good to go. Immediately, if you turn it to a site and you pack it away when it's wet, I wouldn't want to leave it in the bag more than 24, 40 hours at a push. If you get it home, lay it out in the garage or peg 4 corners, pump it up and get it sort of dry. Doesn't matter if it's up, still getting wet. You don't want it sort of in the bag, creating almost like a perfect breeding ground for mold or mildew. But for me, yeah, once you go polycotton, anything else you don't, fare it. And that's where if you're going on the continent or from a temperature point of view, in the UK, you will notice a difference between a polycotton tent and polyester. I'd probably say it'd be maybe 5 to 10 degrees, basically because obviously the air allows to sort of to come through the material itself, and you get no condensation as well because all the moisture can pass through it. In terms of the build quality, generally it's pretty decent. What you find with Outwell is they are quite detail orientated, so things like your storm straps are on the front and back to give great torsion into there, but because you've got those reef beams in the main body section, it is obviously quite strong in terms of the winds. But even with the webbing straps, they've run it and the fabric goes all the way into the main part of the seam here, helps to distribute the overall tension on the points, because these are the ones that are going to take the most battering. So that way it's almost like 3 points connection rather than just typically 1. Other things as well is the way they do the side guy ropes. So actually again goes into 2 points, spreads the load, and they've got like a 2-tone colour to match the fabric to obviously identify a bit more from a trip hazard point of view. There's an extra point located here. If you wanted to extend the tent for any reason really, there is a canopy tarp you can buy to go on the front of it. The one you need to go for is canopy tarp M for this model, just because of the width of it, but it gives you a bit more an extra sort of shelter section. Big crystal clear windows, obviously with plenty of, it's like a slight tint to them as well, so you get a bit of privacy, but it's a really nice fabric. We've got low level ventilation here as well to help to circulate air if need be. There's a big ventilation point directly at the back. Now, technically, this is a free zone tent, i.e. you have sleeping, living, and then kind of a front canopy section. Now, the front canopy section itself is almost like a free zone but two zone, because the front panel itself can be completely removed, giving you a big, nice open sort of front area if you wanted to. The partition door between sort of the canopy area and the main living area then sort of opens from right to left. So if you want to, it can be one big open space and the whole way through. So again, nice and flexible. In terms of the front door situation, the door can open from left to right or right to left. Personally, I would probably do it from right to left because it imitates what happens in the next door back. And you have PVC windows located in the front to get plenty of light, again still with that tint, but then low level ventilation point here as well, so, and it mirrors that on the other side. So if it's raining, for example, you can just zip up the mesh, you still have the vision out, but then if you want the airflow, that'd be the first sort of bug-free barrier that goes directly down. And if you want to, you can roll it to the side and toggle it like so. But for the purposes of the video, what I'm going to do is just unzip it. Gives you an idea, you can detach that, store it separately, and that also means from a weight aspect, because the front door can be completely removed, you can always store that separately, along with the front steel pole, which comes included with it, and then it means that you've got less sort of weight or bulk in one go. Tent weight on its own is about 40 kilograms, so it's it's a bit of a chunk, but for a polycotton tent, certainly this sort of size, I think it's quite quite amicable really. The width of the tent is about 3.2 meters, and it's about 5.5 in terms of overall length as well. So it's quite a compact kind of unit, and we've got sleeping at the back, main living area, and obviously then your kind of canopy area. This canopy area does come with a ground sheet as standard, and it does sort of bathtub up to again try and create that seal. As we move back a section, in fact, bring the camera around might make things a little bit easier to get you an idea of it. So one of the key features as well that Outwell put on it is their kind of quick and quiet door. It's basically the ability to enter a door without having to use zips. So for example, like we have here, where we've got this sort of partition, and we're at night, for example, and there's a light on inside, you can enter the door, and essentially the magnets will then close directly behind you. This partition door between sort of the living area and that main front canopy area has this full mesh part to it. You do have the option of actually zipping it closed like we have here. So that's going to be your main bug-free barrier. And more importantly, because it zips along the bottom, it means you've got a proper thorough sort of bug-free protection. Unlike a lot of other brands, what you tend to find is it'll only be like a little lip or toggle or Velcro. But for this, you can open up fully. And again, this will actually then roll back. And that will be then kind of your main kind of entrance, and it creates a little bit of like a sheltered area, perfect place for kind of cooking if you wanted to. Or failing that, you want to fully open it up. You can open up, unpeg that. That then rolls and toggles, doesn't remove, and then this means you then have a flat lip in and out. It actually just flows really quite nicely. And like I said, for us, what is essentially a 320 width tent, there is plenty of headroom in here. I'm about 6'2". I can stand up pretty much decently in the corners, and you've got a little bit of slope as well. As we stand in here, it's more of a compact unit, so it is just kind of one bay rather than having a double bay. But like I said, if it's more for smaller families, if you wanted to, even though you can fit 5, I would say more it's a comfy 4 or really comfy 3. You kind of got your master bedroom, which is on this side. This is going to be 180 versus 120 on this side. So, and the benefit of this as well is there are slightly deeper bedrooms than your standard bedrooms. So they are about 230 deep, which means you can get sort of camp beds or high-rise air beds in them properly. So for me, I'd probably say, look, nice double air bed in there, high-rise or camp bed, and then you put a single in there as well if you wanted to. The front door to the sort of bedroom sections, you've got mesh built onto it, so you can also get a little bit of light directly into it. And also the master bedroom, i.e. this one on the side, has the quick and quiet feature. So it means again you can come into it, close the door behind you when you need to, and then again, so you open the mesh up. So if you wanted a bit more ventilation or allow a bit more light through, because they are slightly sort of darker bedrooms, then you do have that option quite nice and neatly. Storage pockets built into the front of the bedrooms here as well, so that works really quite nicely. And then when you open the bedrooms up, there is a divider that separates kind of both bedrooms. It's zipped along the sides and stitched into the top, but along the bottom it is kind of just sort of left down. So if you wanted to kind of open this up to be one big bedroom, you would just zip it up and roll it along the top. Like I said, because you've got additional braces in the roof sections, it does help to make it a very torsionally quite strong. And the beams are kind of slightly big, they're sort of oversized as well, just to give a bit more rigidity in general. We've got a cable entry point that goes into kind of the bedroom at the bottom here as well, and your main kind of cable entry point is on this side. So that goes directly into there. It's a bit of a shame they haven't put the cable entry point really on the master bedroom, because that's, I think, where you're going to kind of keep a lot of the stuff. But you do have storage pockets built into the sides of both bedrooms as well. It is a slightly darker material, as previously mentioned. You also got a flap down here as well, so that allows you to have a vision out to the back of the tent if you wanted to, as long as you open up the rear vent, which we'll kind of come to in one moment. Other features that you have on this is Outwell's hook track system. So it's a track, basically like a beading that runs through and on the tubes. Gives you the option that you actually can have things like a hanging point for a lantern. You can add additional storage options if you really wanted to as well, or suspend something across to create a lighting centrally in the tent, or even say like a bit of cord to dry some towels or something. There's webbing straps located around the front here as well, and that's designed that you can basically stops the beams from shifting, again gives more rigidity, and also this features Outwell's kind of nightlight system. So it's like you can buy these additional sort of lights. Basically what you then do is attach that directly to the beading, and then when you inflate it, you turn it on, it kind of illuminates this little lighting thing. For me, it's not something you would be, it's not that bright of light. It's something that kind of gives you a nice bit of ambient lighting, but you struggle to read from it, I think. But when it's pitch black and your eyes adjust to it, I think, yeah, okay, fair enough. You'll see where things are, but it's not going to be your main source of lighting, which is a little bit of a shame, but still quite a nice idea. And what you also can do is you can also use it to identify your tent. So there's a remote control that comes with it normally, and then if you had the tent open for any reason, you can just turn it on. It'll then illuminate where the zip point is, and you can easily get to it again. A little bit, it's great. I think it's a great concept, not quite executed quite as well as I would like it to be. And for me, that point should be on the front of the tent, not because it only works if the canopy is fully open. So yeah, it's just a few little bits that you think, okay, it would be nice to tweak it here. But I think in conceptually as a tent itself is really quite nice. In fact, actually bring the camera in and we can see a bit more in the flesh. So again, like I said, due to kind of the nature of it, big windows, we've got low level ventilation points beneath the windows to help circulate air. The curtains obviously zip up, so you can always have it halfway, so you can get a bit of privacy, but also light as well. And then we've got the straps, which are kind of rope kit around here, so that's basically to stop it from twisting and keeping it all really nice and solid. And then we've got the little hook track system, which is kind of located here. So that's what you then use for hanging points or then sort of running cables. Basically, you then link it up. At the top here, we've got obviously this inflation point system. So this actually what distributes the air from one place to another. If I'm being perfectly honest, Outwell have used a similar system previously, which didn't have the best results. This is the second version of it. They've definitely refined it a lot better. So actually now the points fix on and screw on, so it's a lot more thorough affair. And then also they changed the tubes a few years ago, so definitely a lot more reliable in that sense. So I think from that point of view, it's not an issue. You've also got these little storage pockets located directly down here as well, so that's basically to house the little lighting, so you can pop those in there and you're good to go. Storage pockets on the front obviously allow for things like keys, phones and books to declutter the main part of the tent. As previously mentioned, there is a little zip point located down the bottom, and just take your mains cable directly in, and then you've got your mains cable point on the side here for your main hookup. Deeper bedrooms, like I said, you can see how dark they are in comparison. And then we've got that zip divider between two sections, if you can just about see that. But again, for me, that zip ability of sort of push chairs and prams going in and out works really well. But you get the thorough point, and you can see how it kind of it sort of loops up to give you a bit more of a better point. As we kind of head around the back, you can see the stall straps we've got pitched down there as well, and we've got the rear ventilation system. So this system itself, you can zip it up like we have here, or if I open this up, you can fully open up to expose and get a bit more internal light. Saying that, you can use it like a kickstand, bring it out so you've got airflow in for when it's obviously raining, but you've still got the coverage. So again, that's really nice. And if you can see the kind of, we call it like a Gothic arch, how it sort of peaks up and how well it sits. And because you've got those beams, obviously, it means you get the roof section looking pretty bang on it every single time. And the things obviously doesn't span into the main front section. There is a zip on the front part here, which is how you insert the pole. So the steel pole goes directly into that point there as well. But I think on the whole, it's a really nice kind of well-made product. Something a bit different. It's kind of the smallest tent that Outwell do in their collection. So like I say, you are looking for that kind of more couples tent. I think that's where it sort of ticks a box. It's almost worth looking at like the Virginia Air as well. Even though it's a 5, it's a slightly different layout. But you kind of, it's more living orientated, where I think that you've got a 3 dedicated zones, you're sleeping, you're living, and then a real canopy area, which is more versatile to cook underneath. So that's where I think this model works nicely. I think on the whole, yeah, it's impressive. I love the feature set with it, with the, the mesh, the zips on the bottom, the quick and quiet bedrooms, low ventilation, the storm straps, the zip curtains, obviously the single point inflation, deeper bedrooms, storage pockets. There's a lot kind of going on here, so you can see kind of why necessarily the price point is kind of where it is. That and being obviously the Polycotton fabric. If you'd like the concept of this but want a polyester version, you can check out, they do a model called the Flagstaff. It's basically the same pretty much in nearly every single way, just it's made from a basically 80 gram ripstop material, about 6,000 mil hydrogen head. So if you're concerned about pack weight or also the drying aspect, which things can get around, then you can go for that non-breathable material. But for me, that Polycotton fabric, the touch, the feel of it, you can't really beat it, as long as you can take the weight. So this model, we'll have some sort of Polycotton range at our showroom, but you always check out the videos we've done, show sort of similar sort of pitching videos, packing videos. You want more stats and sort of individual features, you can check the link below this video, take you through our website with the latest pricing, bundle deals we do, and of course all the floor plans as well, so you can get an idea for the overall sizing when you're doing your research and comparing it from this to that to whatever else you're looking at, really. So but on the whole, I think it's a really nice model, something a bit different, and something that doesn't really, I can't think of another model in the market that it kind of equates to. It sort of sits in its own little size, ideal for small families or couples or whatever you want to utilize it as, because it's about 13 minutes pitch time. It's something you can quite happily do on your own, like myself, pitch that guy out for a weekend or even a week. But no, on the whole, that's our little video review. Hope it's been helpful. Feel free to let us know what you think about it in the comment box below. If there's more information, feel free to contact us. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon in our next Attwoolls Outdoors video review.